Sarah, just help us understand what is happening with the JCPOA and where do we stand? As you know, talks have been delayed, stalled even, since March. We're now hearing that the United States says Iran's overall bid to try and have sanctions removed is part of the reason that we haven't seen any progress thus far. Where's it going?
What is happening, Dana, is the Iranians are demanding some of the sanctions to be removed that are beyond nuclear-related sanctions. Even the request for removal of IRGC from terrorist risk is one of terrorist list is one of those major ones that Iran demanded, and it's very almost say impossible for Biden administration to agree with that demand. But if you look at it, it's very crucial for Iran's economy to have IRGC out of the terrorist list, because IRGC is heavily tangled with its economy, different industries, also is a big stakeholder in its oil sales under sanctions. So if the sanctions are removed and IRGC is still sanctioned, they're going to lose a huge profit.
And as you say, Sarah, if we did see progress on the JCPOA, it could actually result in Iranian oil coming to market. This, of course, comes as we see the Biden administration continuing to try and fill the supply gap left behind in the wake of these latest sanctions that have been levied against Russia and its imports into Europe and its exports into Europe and elsewhere. Would it be a bridge too far to have the Biden administration actually suggest that Iran could be used to fill some of that supply gap?
Well, actually, Iran has, as of moment, Iran is one of the countries with largest capacity to increase production to the market that is thirsty for oil. Iran's export before the sanctions was about 2.5 million barrels per day. They are currently exporting about 850,000 barrels per day. And they are signaling that their production capacity has been restored to pre-sanctions. So yes, Iran could potentially add a large volume of oil to the market, but if Biden administration formally gives that permission to Iran to add more oil without the agreement to be reached, then there's no incentive for Iran to be compliant with the nuclear deal. Nevertheless, we are seeing that Iran's oil export has been increasing since Biden's election, and now in the past month, Iran is formally exporting few small cargoes to Europe, which would never happen directly unless the administration has somehow given permission to these countries, formally or informally, to import Iranian oil.
One other interesting angle to this is that we also know that Russia has been exporting more oil to China, which is Iran's largest market for some of its own illicit oil trading. What are the implications here broadly? And in your view, could we perhaps even see sanctions being levied against China as a result?
And something interesting that is happening in the market is the change of oil trade flow. As we see, Russia is exporting more oil to China because Europe is not interested in purchasing its oil and putting sanctions on it. We see that some of that oil that was going to China from OPEC producers and Gulf producers like Saudi Arabia and Iraq are now going to Europe. This is the same story with Iran, as I mentioned. Russia has taken some of the market for Iran's illicit oil sales to China, but as we start observing is that since last month there are cargoes that are documented to go and their destination is some of the ports in Europe. So ultimately Europe might get more of Iranian oil as more of Russian oil is going to China. Sanctions against China, I don't know, it's huge at this time that the prices are really under pressure. Global market is under pressure. I don't see any sanctions on Russia, especially that China is a large exporter of petroleum products. And as of now, the global market, especially U.S., is short and lacking petroleum products that China has the largest spare capacity. If they remove the suspensions on their export of petroleum products, some of the hurdles for the market would be resolved, especially for gasoline and diesel.